we present Fantasy World. Let's try 9 World with one game. Okay, first off, developers, brush up on your fucking English grammar. I get that you're Japanese, but still. Alright, so yeah, like we've said before, completing the entirety of the game without any warp zones unlocks World 9. What is World 9? It's, okay, you know how in Super Mario 3D World...
What? Why are the clouds underwater, man, and there's Koopas flying under the water?
Luigi's high.
Jova, this is where the game officially gave up on even pretending that it's sane.
Luigi, mushrooms.
Well, hey guys, think about it. Luigi, throughout the course of this playthrough, has eaten a bunch of poison mushrooms. Now, because he's like Rasputin, it didn't kill him, but it made him high instead.
Basically. Okay,
that might as well be the theme of World starting with 9.
You might remember how, in Super Mario Galaxy 2, 3D Land, and 3D World, when you complete the main campaign, you unlock a special world with more levels, and those levels are get very creative in in the ways they use the gimmicks and mix things up, right? This is the game where that trend started. The idea that when you complete the main campaign, you get an extra world with creative, quote-unquote, levels.
To their credit, these are very creative. I mean, mind you, I do believe that Miyamoto and company were high as a kite when making these, but they are certainly creative. You're swimming in the sky with clouds cheering you on, enemies that walk as if they are not underwater, and
it kind of reminds me of that glitch in Spyro 2, which allows you to, in one of the last levels, I forgot which specific name, allows you to essentially exploit a glitch, but allows you to glide as if you're underwater for the entire level.
Also, this ends your long trip of a long friendship. Yeah, screw you, game. Like, if there's one thing you're not as a friend of mine, fuck off.
No, Pedro, don't you see? With your money, you have earned yourself a long and relaxing time with this game.
Sure.
That said, how relaxed you are after playing this game may vary.
So, let me get this straight. A castle in the outdoors covered in snow.
With lava, too.
What? Excuse me? Entering a pipe somehow transports me to the clouds?
Of course, sir.
And night.
Oh, and now what happened? Did the game give up? What the fuck?
I think you went to a place you're not supposed to go.
No, actually, you're supposed to fall down there. You just have to wait a bit before...
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was my point though. My guess is that you're supposed to fall, but since you kept jumping,
Oh great! Yet again, I'm walking in circles. Brilliant! So yeah, avoid that fucking pipe. That pipe is just there to... Oh shit! Bowser!
Hey Bowser! Oh my god! Okay. Yes, he blocks the stairs.
Okay.
Pipe.
Yeah, as you can tell, this is where all logic and reason went out the fucking window.
But you gotta admit, Pedro, it is a beautiful approximation of what it is like to be high in the Mario universe.
I guess.
But what are brother Super Show's over?
Alright. To be a bit more positive, bullshit manners of unlocking the post-game aside, I would at least commend this game for having a much more interesting idea for a post-game, unlike the first game, which just repeats the same quest again, just replacing the Goombas with busy beetles. So at the very least they put a bit more effort in any kind of extras.
How are there fireworks underwater?
Because fuck you, that's why. That's the developer's answer.
Okay, but all joking aside, I do also appreciate how...
Basically, if you complete World 9 will just loop. Okay, like we've said, complete the game 8 fucking times... and you'll unlock World A.
Wonderful, is it not?
Wonderful.
Why isn't this game over yet?
Because it's not done with you.
It's like Billy Mays, so just when you think you're done, like...
It's like...
Again. Now, to give him credit, though, again, nowadays this is kind of annoying, but back then, I guess the idea of a game with this much content was kind of considered amazing.
Sure.
I'm just trying to analyze the styles of the time, essentially. And again, to give him credit, I will give them also credit in the sense that they were very creative. Let's say relatively well thought out when coming up with these extra levels.
And then the Super Mario Land team figured out a much better way of doing this with Wario Land 2. Alright, yet another poison mushroom, great.
No, eat it, you'll become as high as Luigi.
There we go.
Now that's puzzle platforming.
What was I saying? Yeah, worlds A through D are basically, to their credit, they're a bit more rational in the way they're built compared to World 9. Great, more Hammer Brothers.
Say that right as the Hammer Bros come in, absolutely wallop.
I was trying to say they were easier, to say that at the very least they're not as insane, because World 9 is just plain insanity.
But isn't it insanity that you love, though?
If by love, as Teo would say, if by love you mean I want to stab myself with a salad fork, then yes.
Love makes you do crazy things.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, you have to do a little run there. I'm playing as Mario right now for this particular post game, so I don't have my high jump anymore. Meaning sometimes I have to use the run to jump a little. Oh fuck yeah. There you go. This is one of those cases where that one is not too bad, to be fair, because you just jump in between the bits, so it's not too bad. All right, World A2.
Next zone.
And it's underground. Okay, sure. Yeah, this one goes back to the usual. This one goes back to the usual structure of the main game. Like you have your ground level, you have your underground level. So
the ground level and Bowser boss.
Yeah, this one goes back to a more traditional Mario structure. Again, World 9 is just the developers going completely off the rails.
Pedro, you've just killed 5 people.
Long trip of a long. This is a trip of a long friendship. I need to do this for the sake of friendship, Dwibs.
Yeah, so.
You just killed 5 people. Remember, they turned them into blocks.
Peace is paved, Dwibs.
Rest our hero.
Remember what Peach said, Dwibs. Peace is paved.
Peace is paved with the souls of the damned.
Remember, this is just like Zelda 1, where the translation is different. Like, for example, you reach the Moblin in Zelda 1, and he says, grumble, grumble. Obviously, that means you need to give him a piece of meat. Obviously, right? Naturally.
The Dongo doesn't like
Great,
salt.
the wind is back. That's
Your
wonderful.
favorite.
Alright, there we go, and here's the blooper that somehow now survives outside of water. It's like I said, like the game gets more and more insane as it goes on, and it insanity peaks in World 9. There you go.
I'm surprised you didn't just try and use that spring proper to get to the top of the flag.
Fuck it, at this point, Jeff, I just want to get this done.
Boy, Pedro, from how you say, you'd almost think this game tortured you or something.
It's not so much that, it's more so the fact that I don't like the way the levels are designed. Like, a lot of times the levels just feel like, I can understand making a more challenging game. It's just that, like, in all those instances I've already explained and exemplified even, a lot of times the designers just clearly were feeling like being dicks.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think they were intent on being dicks. Again, I do think that what this game is more than anything a product of its time.
Oh, definitely.
Not necessarily. Which isn't
Remember, the
necessarily
first
an
Echo the Dolphin
excuse.
also has a similar thought process.
Oh, sure. Well, here's the thing, Tail. You know what Echo the Dolphin has? A fucking life bar. So at the very least, you have that. You know?
Hi. How you doing?
Not to mention not to mention Echo the Dolphin has a password system. So even if you do get a game over, you can soften the problem by just noting down the passwords. So with Echo the Dolphin, I will argue the difficulty there is more manageable, Tail, because you have much better ways of preserving your progress.
The same though, like Tia was pointing out though, Echo the Dolphin is another game that is very much a product of its time.
Oh, definitely.
In regards to, wanting to ramp up the difficulty to give people more content time, let's say.
Sure. I will argue Echo the Dolphin is a kind of challenge that is still fine. Honestly, the games are more insanely creative, more than actually super early in the challenge. I will argue that, like, compared to something like Battletoads or Ghosts and Goblins, it's not exactly on that level. I will argue that. No, go on.
I can tell you that as someone who had the displeasure having to marathon Ghosts and Goblins for one entire night, this is probably still a bit more dickish.
Oh, really? Well, I'll let you save that for the final thoughts, I guess.
Are you talking strictly about how many times we have to complete the game, Theo, or the game in general?
Also the game in general, because Ghosts and Goblins relatively is shorter than this, technically. The stages are roughly of the stages are roughly of the same length. It's just the way that they are slightly more difficult, but again, the game is technically shorter, and it only fucks you up even if you're not having the right items at the right time. While some problems similar to that are present still in this, but this is actually has more length to it. So by default, it's a more excruciating process.
I would say Ghosts and Goblins is still worse because at least one thing you have in this game is mobility. Like, if you're maneuverable enough, you can be fine in this game. Ghosts and Goblins.
No, Arthur cannot change me there. His jump. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Ghosts and Goblins at some point feels like you have to memorize an exact pattern down if you want to pass through the game and get the good ending.
Also, I love how the 2 in B2 right there at the top, I love how the 2 is disproportionate to the rest of the UI. Like,
it's like B.
Yeah, the 2 is significantly smaller than, which is weird because there's already a bigger sprite for the number 2 in the timer. So why didn't they just use that?
The numbers in general, because again, I noticed that when creating some of our foundings, some type of fonts tend to have this kind of thing where the lettering is actually bigger than the actual numbering.
I get that this is just completely pointless bullshit that I'm complaining about, but still, like, okay, this particular world is not too bad, fortunately. Come on, Mario Fall. Oh, fuck. Okay. See, no. It's because you cannot tell in which specific section of the ceiling you are at. You have to kind of keep track in your head, and if you're distracted, it can become an issue. Where was I? Jova, remember, again, going back to that whole thing on how Izuka even admitted that Sonic Colors was inspired by Nintendo Mind Design, that whole bit in Starlight Carnival where you're going through the thing and you get jumped straight into the ceiling to the point where Sonic literally jumps outside of the screen even. It was inspired by this game, of all things. Great.
I mean, hey, at least there it's manageable.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, Sonic Colors is a very easy game. It's more so.
People say that Lost World is the more Nintendo inspired.
Honestly, funnily enough, the more I look back at it, the more I see that Lost Levels did influence quite a bit of gaming, to a point where. Okay, do not get me wrong. This game is dickish, and I could pretty much make like an entire. And I do mean an entire hour and a half of just listing off the problems with it. Still, it is one of those I think I would call it one of those diamonds in the rough still. Like, for all its geekery and whatnot, once you master the system here, you can legit have fun with this game. That said, good luck mastering this game in particular.
And you need to be committed to
hell.
it.
Let me put it this way.
Yes.
Also, maze, because of course it is. Let me put it this way. The difficulty in this game comes more from level design, like conquering the incredibly difficult level design challenges, compared to something like the first NES Turtles game that we did recently, where there is that as well. There's a lot of cheap stuff in that game too, but a lot of the bigger problems with the difficulty in that game is, of course, the fact that you don't know what the fuck you're doing, because because it's practically impossible to navigate that game without a fucking map.
That's why it's still possible to have fun with this game compared to those other examples here, because this game is not necessarily fundamentally broken.
Sure.
One thing I do like in the All Stars version of the of Mario 1 and Lost Levels by extension is that every time you get to Toad, he does something different as opposed to just stand there with his hands on his head going ah.
Yeah, this original engine is very limited to what it can do animation-wise. It's a very primitive engine, even for NES standards, because if you take a look at something like Ninja Gaiden on the NES, that game has fantastic cinematics that are very well animated for the time. Again, this was a launch game for the console, and it shows. It's still operating on that Atari 2600 mentality of very limited animation.
And it's the player that fills in most of the gaps.
Yep, basically. World C1. And once again, doing the whole Paratroopa as a trampoline thing. No, but I understand what you mean, Jova, because again, it's the same problem I have with Zelda 1, where that game can be an incredibly frustrating experience if you don't have an actual map. Remember, even back in the day, they included a map with the fucking game, because even back then they knew that you were going to have a bad time if you didn't have some kind of guidance in that game.
Zelda 1 is one of those cases where I definitely can see why people have issues with it, but I can also see why that game was a hit when it first came.
Oh no, definitely. Like, it was basically the first open world game, basically.
Yeah.
Like open world game. Okay, more like open ended. I think that's the best way to put it, because
Well, no. I mean, technically it is open world. In fact, if I recall correctly, you can actually do stuff out of order, like in an open world game too.
Yes, you can.
It's just that, obviously, open world games were, well, yeah, the closest you were gonna get was the top-down stuff. Like we saw in that Jurassic Park game.
Exactly. Lost World, yes. Yeah, the thing about, again, it's mostly because this was a time where, I guess, between the development of this and Zelda 1, this was the year where Miyamoto was feeling very obtuse with his design. And of course it peaks in Zelda 1, where you have to know in advance exactly what walls are bombable, otherwise they'll waste bombs. And you go, here's another example of yet another snow level. The fuck? Yeah, let's just... Alright, let's try this again.
You can't keep that forever, Mario!
Just to watch me.
Okay, and there you go.
Wow, I did that thing and Tia wasn't threatening my fingers.
Keep live shading these lives at your own risk.
So, Tio, I always wondered, why don't you ever just do the Mario boy to try and prevent Woods from doing it?
Because I do it better.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, once again, basic point. Just go on. And there you go.
Yeah, I'd hope you don't land on nothing.
I swear Crash Bandicoot has something like this at some point.
Yeah, again, Jova is what's it called? The bridges level in the first game.
Oh yeah, Bridge to Nowhere and the high road.
Except in those, you can actually cheat up by walking on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can even do that in the remake. Which that surprised me.
The remake did leave in some bouts here, although in one case the audience will literally throw cheese at you for cheesing it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's the.
And yeah, you'll notice that it looks like the developers kind of ran out of ideas. Because yes, as you can see, Worlds A through D are starting to reuse levels and layouts from previous levels.
Admittedly, there was only so much that they could do with the hardware limitations, so I kind of get it.
In that case, here's an idea. Have World 9 be the post game and leave it at that. How about that?
Or hell, do even more trippier stuff in World 9.
There you go. They even put like a fucking chain of fire on the bridge. That's just like why not put a hammer brother right next to Bowser while you're at it? Like
you really want to tempt fate, don't you?
I'm pretty sure there's a Super Mario Maker level that's like that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there is.
The madness continues in the next part.
Well, the madness will fortunately end in the next part, but yeah, I get your point. See ya.
See ya.